Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Politics as Usual.
With the Altaverse, I'm Mohsin Ali Akbar.
And I'm Ayub Anwar.
Right, so the big news this week.
The big news, what we got?
In British politics, the whole week starting, as soon as the new year kicked in, you had propaganda from the BBC and from all over the place about the Corbyn reshuffle of the Labour shadow cabinet.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's all sorts of conspiracy theories going around. And so he moved some people about, he got rid of a few people, one or two quit. One actually quit today on TV, actually. It's Sunday the...
Was that today?
10th.
Did you say?
Yeah, she was supposed to go on TV
okay.
and quit live on TV. I didn't actually watch it, but...
There was another one, wasn't it? Another MP that did the same.
He
A couple of days ago.
a couple of days ago he went on TV and... did he quit on TV or...
Well, that's what the headlines were saying.
I think he...
Obviously didn't read that one.
Right, yeah. He had some negative things to say,
Yeah.
basically, yeah. And his...
Surprise.
Yeah, the National Executive Committee of the Labour Party now is pretty much under Corbyn's control. He's got a lot of his supporters in there. They're all his backers. So within the Labour Party, he's got the power, basically, to kind of do as he wishes.
He's got the power. Okay.
Yeah, he's manoeuvred himself well, I would say, and you can't hate on that.
He's got every right to do so.
Yeah, and so after the whole propaganda business that was going on naturally, as it would in the media. Oh, by the way, he left Hilary Benn in that same position.
Yeah, he's still doing what he was doing.
Yeah, Shadow Defence Minister. And there's a vote coming up soon on Trident as well. And I think Hilary Benn is going to go the opposite way again of Corbyn, so that'll be interesting. I don't think that really...
See how things unfold.
Yeah.
It's not as if they're in power anyway.
They're not, but it sends a message to the British public. The message it sends to me is, well, Corbyn's against it, and the guy who he would, if Corbyn was in power, his guy in charge of that part, the Trident, would be his defence minister, who is Hilary Benn, who's, against what Corbyn's saying. So,
it's a bit of a strange dynamic.
Yeah, the whole thing is a bit weird. And so if people say, well, there's kind of a failing Labour Party and they're all over the place, etc., I can kind of see where they're coming from. Normally what happens is, the leader of the party will get their whips out. Not literally, but they will get their whips, as in the guys who work on the back bench, and they will force somebody into a certain line of thinking, and there'll be some deal.
So does there's an article in the Guardian from when was it, on Wednesday, saying that Hilary Benn denied being muzzled.
Yeah.
So either they did crack the whip, and in cracking the whip they told him, right, you could keep your position, but you ain't saying jack.
Well, we'll see what happens when Trident comes about, when the vote for the Trident comes about, because if he comes out and he's completely in line with what Jeremy Corbyn's saying, then we know he's kind of, he's being muzzled. But the other thing is, was he the one who was instigating? I think he was more, he was kind of being propped up by the so-called moderates within the Labour. Well, basically the Blairites. He was being propped up by the Blairites.
Why would he be propped up?
They were propping him up to kind of become, that they were saying to him, probably, we'll do a media campaign against Jeremy Corbyn, and we'll get you. You'll be the next leader. You'll be the next guy in power. And they've got their own,
That's your theory.
Yeah. Well, they have got their own group, haven't they? Their own
the
pressure
Blairites,
group.
yeah.
What's that pressure group called? I forgot the name.
Oh, pressure group.
Yeah. Progress. It's called Progress.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so it's there's a second pressure group working within the Labour Party, And the Corbynites have called that pressure group the right-wing conservative pressure group. But it's working within the Labour Party, so...
But there's an interesting quote here. So Hilary Benn, as he left House of Commons, Shadow Foreign Secretaries, added, "I'm going to be carrying on doing my job exactly as before, which is speaking for Labour on foreign policy, supporting Jeremy Corbyn and campaigning really hard to get Labour elected at the next general election." We'll see about that.
So in response, Corbyn, he wrote an article after the whole reshuffle business and kind of defended himself. And there's a massive media campaign, and we saw it again. I don't know where all this money's coming from or who's funding the whole project, but it's just there to undermine Jeremy Corbyn. It's very clear, and it's everywhere. I don't see how he can actually be as hated as he is in the media. It doesn't make sense. So it's being funded. There's some propaganda against him, basically, I think.
Yeah, well, it's quite obvious, I think, that is. But just going back to what you said before about Hilary Benn's ongoing presence in the party, given the apparent clash between the two of them.
Yeah.
Is that necessarily a bad thing for the party? Because it's, having diversity in views is a good thing.
It's good, but, the propagandists are going to use that to say, look, he can't even control his own party.
Yeah, but then you sort of ask a question there. So do you want your party to be yes men? A group of yes men, people who just say yeah to it and tag along? That just seems wrong. That's called groupthink. Whenever there's groupthink, it leads to degradation of a group or an organisation.
Well, the thing is, we're talking about two different things. You're talking in ideal terms. I'm talking in how politics
perception
work. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're talking how it should be. I'm talking how it is. So in British politics, for the longest time, this is how it's been. When Tony Blair got the vote for the invasion of Iraq.
Sorry, did you say Tony Black?
Tony Black, yeah. So Tony Blair, when he got the vote for the invasion, his whips were in,
Yeah, he cracked him.
Yeah, he gave him a good bashing, and he got as many people as he could in line. He couldn't get Tony Benn in line. He couldn't get Jeremy Corbyn in line. There was still going to be a few against, but he got the vast majority of his party to vote in favour. And that's kind of, that's his tactic, was to coerce people into a certain way of thinking. And it's accepted.
Was it force? Was it coerce? I mean, he convinced them that he was right.
Well, is it really? Was it convincing, or was it more, vote in my favour this time, and next time when you need something, or there'll be some resources put your way, and it's always these.
Until I see proof, I'm gonna believe that he's given his powers of speech, he managed to convince people.
I don't know. Well, not the amount of people that are coming out now afterwards and saying, "Damn, that was a sham when this happened."
Yeah.
It was in the media not too long ago about him. What Mandelson, Lord Mandelson, his right hand man.
Yeah.
Him and Mandelson, how they kind of handled certain people. Well, they use the term handled instead of coerced.
Yes, yeah. So they put pressure on people.
Yeah, pressure. Yeah. But how does that pressure work? If I'm against something, how are you going to handle or put pressure on me? You're going to have something over me, aren't you? Or you're going to say, look, do as I say this time, and I will put some resources your way. I will help you out in some way in the future.
Or it'll be a case of, if you know what's good for you, you'll do the right thing here.
Yeah, so there's some type of coercion at play.
Otherwise, when you wake up in the morning, there might be a severed horse head in your bed. No, sorry, I don't think Tony Blair was that bad.
But so anyway, Corbyn, after the reshuffle, he wrote an article, and there's a few interesting things he said. He said that there's a deep-seated desire for change and a new direction in our politics. I said the fact that he was elected with the massive mandate that he was proved that people want, some type of change in politics, that they don't want the status quo to remain as it is. And so I think he's more than running a media campaign of his own, which obviously costs money and resources and time, whatever. He's just going off that whole thing. Look, I had grassroots support and I believe I will retain it. And I don't think that's the best tactic, because that grassroots support you had, if they now have a massive propagandist campaign coming at them which is anti-Corbyn, they may be swayed.
Yeah, he's being complacent.
He's a bit, definitely being a little bit complacent, I think, yeah. And another thing he said, on your point of allowance for freedom of speech within a party, he said that he will shape new policies through the democratic participation from his party and supporters. So somehow members of the party who are elected, as well as members who maybe have voted for him, etc., will somehow get to vote on which way his policies go. It's a bit strange. I'm not sure how practical it is.
I don't understand that. Whose supporters?
The Labour Party supporters.
Like people who vote for Labour?
Yes. Well, people who are registered supporters, sorry.
Registered.
So that they registered the members and you can get some correspondence to them. And,
I get that. Yeah.
So that he, is trying to make a very involved democratic process, which is something new.
It sounds democratic as well, though.
Well, no, it does.
Sounds good to me.
It sounds more democratic than what we used to. What we used to is come vote for your king for the next 5 years and he will be your overlord. Do not dare say anything against him. Otherwise, there'll be some beheadings taking place, etc. But just nowadays there's no beheadings, but it's the same thing, isn't it?
But we do speak out against it.
It's your king. Yeah, you can speak. Well, until let's see what this new prevent strategy does.
Okay, so you can speak out against them unless you fall into a particular category of people.
Yeah. One particular minority. We'll let you figure that out for yourselves.
Well, the prevent... Anyway, forget prevent. We'll talk about that at a different time.
Yeah.
Continue. I bid thee to continue.
Right. So that was kind of the news leading into the weekend. Now... Starting, there's a debate tomorrow in the Parliament on a trade union bill.
Oh, how exciting!
And it's very interesting, because if it passes, Labour stand to lose 40 million per election cycle.
40 million. What?
40 million pounds per election cycle, because there's some little provisions in this bill which are basically targeted at the Labour Party to take the legs from under them.
So they're basically doing war tactics
against
Labour.
Yeah. This is why I'm...
They've been reading The Art of War by Sun Tzu.
Exactly, yeah. And this is why I'm thinking, maybe Jeremy Corbyn, is he being complacent, or has he got some strategy which is just way in the background, which is just playing out and he's just waiting for the perfect time? I
hope he has, otherwise he's just going to come across as a dumb if I'm be honest.
Yeah. Well, it's being debated tomorrow, and so it'll be interesting to see what the back and forth is on the debate. There's some problematic things in this, and it affects the average worker in the UK, whatever profession they might be in, whether they're in the NHS or they're in some of the transport services or whatever it might be. Well, firstly, the strike leaders have to wear a armband, and if they forget it, there will be a £20,000 fine.
They have to wear an armband?
Yeah, basically, they put in all these little annoying things in place where if you are the leader of a strike and you mess up just even a slight little bit, As in, this is just one example, an armband. If you don't wear that armband, £20,000 fine. Now, if somebody's a part of a union and is the strike leader, etc., there's no way he can afford to pay a £20,000 fine. He probably only earns about that much per annum or something. The reason people go into strike action is due to some type of injustice that they perceive. Normally, it's economic.
Sounds like a dictatorship.
It's a bit strange. Now, there's a whole bunch of other little precisions. I just thought I'd mention one. But the most problematic thing in this is that companies, if this passes, companies will be allowed to bring in non-contracted agency workers during a strike. Now, here's the problem with this. If you are in, say, an industry like catering, as an example,
okay,
and the catering staff has gone on strike, and there is a there's always these 0 hours catering services where they can provide last minute caterers, etc. So there's an industry out there already. So employers the only reason strikes happen is that the employers refuse to listen to what the employees are asking for. And, it's got to a point where, okay, we have to force him into it somehow. We have to force some type of reasonable deal. And this will, when people strike, there's already a law in place that they don't get paid for those days that they're on strike. So this is where people obviously don't like to strike, but they only do it if they have to.
Yeah.
And so people are not being paid for those days. Employers not losing out. He can just bring on agency staff, non-contracted staff to fill those positions. Now, for the future, this is where, if this bill passes, there will be 0 strikes in the UK ever, because what's stopping a company not employing people, but they will have an agency. That agency will train their staff to do any type of job, as in drive the trains. They will train their drivers to drive trains, and the staff working for, let's say as an example, some Virgin Trains as an example. So Virgin Trains doesn't employ its own staff now because this bill has passed. They employ an agency. The agency provides workers. Them workers are paid by the agency. Virgin is not responsible for anything at all. So it's impossible.
Is it really though going to be like that?
Yeah, well, no, it opens the floodgates for this to happen. It opens the floodgates very easily. They've already put...
Well, I mean, it's only going to work. That kind of stuff's... Okay, if something like that happens and is realised, floodgates are open and people start clocking on and start doing it, it's only going to work for very simple type of jobs.
Not really, because...
Like, it can't work in a job where, for instance, you have to go in, you have to understand the company, you have to understand all the various complexities, you have to be in that company to understand how they work.
Yeah.
Because, let's say they're in a very complicated job in IT, right?
Right.
Where they need to understand what their legacy is in terms of the systems, that all the systems are in place, what they all do, etc., etc. You can't just pick up any old dude and plonk him in while one person's gone on a strike. Can't think of any reason why he might be working in government IT, for instance, and he goes on the strike. So they're not going to be able to just pick up anyone and put him in.
It definitely won't work in every industry, but I'll tell you where it will work. Nurses, doctors, train drivers, bus drivers,
so a lot,
building contract.
A lot of the stuff that we depend on.
Basically, police, ambulance, fire brigades, etc. It will affect all the public services, every last one of them. Not a single one will be unaffected, I think. Yeah, obviously private sector, IT, etc., whatever, you might not be affected, fair enough. Yeah, but it will definitely...
Yeah, even complicated jobs in the government, in public sector, it's not going to be easy to just pick up somebody and put them in.
No, well, if there's an industry, as an example, I'm sure driving a train isn't an easy job, yeah?
Yeah, it's not easy.
It takes quite a bit of training and all the rest of it. But then if you've got a group of people who your company trains them and gets work from Virgin trains and this trains and that trains and all the rest of it. And these are 0-hour contracts because the government already has passed a law to say that you can have 0-hour contracts, and you, as an employer, you don't have to promise them any type of hours or any type of pay. And this was actually in the last election. This is how they got the statistic for joblessness down. You know, people, the national statistic of employment came way down because they just opened the floodgates for 0-hour contracts. And so somebody who's on a 0-hour contract, he may not earn a living wage, but he definitely is considered, according to government statistics, as working. Yet he's technically not working because there's no work for him. And so it's just another one of those like clever ploys by the cunning conservative
0-hour contracts. What's wrong with them? It gives a lot of flexibility.
No, it gives flexibility, but some people want a solid job where they're earning X amount of money and they know, and that way when it comes time to pay their bills and the mortgage and you know all.
So they just need the security of a consistent income.
That as well, but I've spoken to people who are on 0-hour contracts, and some of them might get 1 day a week, and some weeks they get absolutely nothing, and they'll have to go sign on for that week.
Yeah.
And so they, you know, what type of life is that?
Yeah, and when they go sign on,
yeah,
bloody job centre,
yeah,
gives them loads of grief as well.
Yeah. Well, no,
my brother was signing on for ages, for a couple of years or something, or maybe 3 years, and I didn't see anything that they were doing that was actually helpful to him.
Right.
I helped him more than the job centre did.
Yeah,
in terms of giving advice that was actually common sense and wasn't as stupid, because it was stuff they said which was retarded. I thought, and the way my brother put it to me, at least, he made it appear as though they were just interested in numbers and ticking off a check sheet, a check box on a list. Well,
you know, how much help can they be? Just the people who are working in a job centre, they might want to help people, they might want to go out of their way, but I think, you know, every day they have to get through X amount of people, sign them on and make sure everything is all above board and make sure they've covered their backs, and then get rid of one, get the next one, get rid of that one, get the next one, and it's only a limited amount of people working in job centres, and so each one may have to handle, you know, a massive amount of cases every day. So I kind of I sympathise with them a little bit, because it's up to the government to put provisions and
exactly. It's not the staff's fault, right? It's not the staff's fault, but the government needs to have a different approach to it. I think they're just very unoriginal. There was a programme, I don't know where it was, BBC or Channel 4 or ITV, wherever, and somebody saw the problem. I forgot who it was. I think it was the same guy that did the Bank of Dave. Right. I forgot his name now, but he thought, right, I'm gonna see what I can do to solve unemployment, or to help solve unemployment. And he was aware that the job centre was failing in that area that he went to. So he set up some sort of a event where he had different people come in, and from different organisations. So a plumber or plumbing services company was there, and various other people. And then these young people were coming in, and because of the way they were set up on the day, on the fair, so the plumbing services, they had set up with like some pipes and stuff. And they were telling people, all right, can you do this, do that? And then some people thought, yeah, I wouldn't mind doing this, and then they ended up getting jobs.
Oh, right, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, so it was just a bit more of a creative way of doing it.
Yeah.
Although, mind you, doing something like that on a larger scale will probably have its challenges. But the point is, if you engage the people, particularly young people, and you don't make them feel as though you're shoving something down their throat, you're going to get a better response from them.
Well, here's the thing. People who are signing on, for the most part, are from the working class,
Yeah.
And this government doesn't really care about the working class. It's unfortunate, but it's true. They're not for the working class. I don't know how people fell for it, and obviously Britain's not as middle class and upper class as the voting that was given to the Conservatives. I honestly can't understand how they got voted.
I think they just want to change from the Labour Party. A lot of people I know that voted for Conservatives.
This time around.
Yeah.
So,
they wanted initially when
after Tony
when
Blair,
the Lib Dem
I understand.
After Tony Blair.
Yeah.
Well, not Tony Blair. It was
Gordon Brown, but it's Tony Blair, isn't it? Gordon Brown's filling in, go home.
Exactly.
Yeah,
but it was his government, Tony Blair's government essentially. But they want to change. Then they saw, okay, well, the economy's gone a bit better.
Yeah,
and I'm in a better position than I was.
Yeah, technically the economy didn't go better, but
No,
it was just made to look. And the 0-hour contracts played a big role in this actually.
So people thought, well,
it was propaganda.
Yeah, so people thought, well, I'll just continue voting for him.
Right.
And for other people, they just thought everyone else was just a lot weaker. Because the Labour Party was weak.
Yeah, Ed Miliband was
he was.
little,
But a lot of people still voted for Labour because they wanted change.
Right.
Because they thought the Conservatives were just egging people on.
Yeah. But honestly, I hope they come to realise how bad this government really is.
Yep, hopefully.
But before this government manages to privatise absolutely every service in the country, mind you.
Yeah. Anyway, what's been going on in the States? That's enough of UK politics.
Well, there was a big thing this week. President Barack Obama had an executive action against guns. And it's something he's been working on for quite a while. Executive action meaning he doesn't actually have to run it through the whole process of the Senate and
so he exercises
his right as the president, as the king of the world, basically. to say, we're making. He didn't say we're getting rid of guns, obviously, but I think it's a step in the right direction. He said we're making it a bit more difficult for people to buy guns on the black market and without proper permits, and even when people are getting permits, they will have to be tested by various means. So we don't want nutcases getting guns, and we don't want potential terrorists getting guns. We don't want the guy who's going to become the lone wolf attacker to get a gun and all the rest of it. So what do you mean? So
what's that going to actually achieve? It sounds a bit like what he did with
it's
Obamacare, right? He wants healthcare to reach more people.
Yeah.
And he sounded like he was in favour of free healthcare. A lot of people thought that's what he was talking about.
Yeah.
Or maybe that was just poor reporting.
It might well have been poor reporting. Obamacare actually was really good.
But no, it hasn't made much of a difference.
No, Obamacare has made a massive difference.
No, it hasn't.
Because it depends who you ask or what you read. From some of the stories I've read, Obamacare has actually helped a lot of people, because people who previously were paying extortionate amounts or couldn't even afford healthcare, now if they if they're equivalent of signing on, then their healthcare kind of will be.
So it'll be a bit cheaper.
Yeah, it'll be a lot cheaper.
So there's still loads of people who don't have money to even pay for that.
I think what happened is if you kind of become compulsory, I think, to pay for it. I think something.
It became compulsory to pay for that, even though you don't have the money.
No. It's means tested.
Right.
So depending on the type of means people have is how it will, it works in proportion and stuff. But I think it was a bit of a nightmare. It was a bit of a 50-50 because he was running, he was trying to pass it through. The Republicans didn't want it to pass through, and they controlled the Senate. So I think he was just like, oh, flipping it, let me just get something through at least and do some good for some people. But yeah. You know what? The other thing is the amount of money he must have took from the pharmaceutical companies,
insurers.
Yeah. Who must have given him a ring and said, "Listen, mate, what are you playing at?" So he probably had to.
Yeah, so he's good.
Make sure he kept all his paymasters happy.
He was reined in.
Yeah, in fact. Basically, yeah. But even with this, obviously, he's never taken any money off the NRA. The NRA are not I don't even know what that stands for, but they're the gun guys in America.
Yeah.
What does it stand for?
I don't know.
I better look it up, actually. But, I'll let you look it up. So they... I've never been fans of the Democrats. They're always fans of the Republicans and such. And so they were they got their propaganda machine out there saying, "Oh, he's trying to take our, constitutional rights away from us and all the rest of it." And Obama said, "Look, no." He said, "I understand if, for example, if you live on a farm and your nearest police station is 20 miles away, and you want to have a shotgun on your farm in your house in case you get attacked, it makes sense that you'd want a gun." And so I think in the American social context, it makes sense for some people to have guns, certainly not in like a big city like New York City or something. So I think maybe it's a step in the right direction, possibly.
We'll see.
Yeah, but here's an interesting one for you. So in Oregon, there's a group of basically white people.
Yeah.
They've taken over.
These guys are
federal
protesting
building.
about something.
Yeah, it started off. They took.
Sorry, what federal building was it?
It was something in a national park. It was just like a federal building in a national park.
Right.
They claim to have not broken in. They just found the keys and opened the door and let themselves in. I'm sure that's got to be illegal.
That's just weird.
It's
How
like,
does that happen?
I found the keys to your car, so I took it.
Yeah. Well, the keys were theirs.
And kept it. Well, the keys were there, weren't they? So, yeah. So they got in, and it started off as somebody was. They were protesting because somebody had used government land for grazing his animals, I think, or something, or growing crops or something like that. So then the government stopped him doing it, and he burnt that land. He said, "Well, if I can't have it, I'm burning the damn thing." And so, they started to, they tried to get him into court and whatever. And him and his gun club, these guys, mind you, they got massive rifles with them. And him and his little group of National Rifle Association is what the NRA stands for, right? So him and his group of rifle cult guys basically went and started this protest. So they broke into this federal building, and those two guys who were in trouble with the police, I think they give themselves up to the court because the court gave them some type of deal. So these guys who were in there, in this federal building, they suddenly changed their narrative. They wanted to stay in there for some reason, and so they changed their narrative last minute kind of thing, and they said, "Oh, we're here because we want freedom for the land, and the government's taking our land, and we're against the government and all the rest of it." And so the media started coming in like, what are the rifles for? And they said, "Oh, well, if them coppers, if those police come in, they better not come in because we've got guns."
So what?
And so in that town, they had a big town meeting. The people who actually live there, because these guys are from out of town. People who actually live there said, "Look, these guys are using terrorist tactics." I saw one guy actually use that word. He said they are using terrorist tactics, and this was on Al Jazeera. And he said, "We want to get rid of these guys from our town. The schools have been shut since, and it makes sense. You don't want Looney Tunes with guns. You don't know what they're going to do. They've already took over a federal building. You're obviously going to want to keep your kids at home." And then that land actually used to be owned by Hopi Indians, or so the Native Americans. They had their own meeting, and they said that land was actually owned by us. I don't know what you lot are talking about, but just please get out. Just get lost, basically.
So that land that they burnt belonged to the Native Americans.
Well, originally, obviously, the whole of the United States, but that land
originally. But no, I was talking like, is it like at the moment legally, contractually there as well?
No. I'm not sure where they popped out from. I think they.
Yeah, so why they popped out from? I'm bringing that up.
I don't know. I think it might have just been taken directly.
Not that it's wrong, they're right, but
yeah, they may have. It might have just been taken from them because it's a national park.
Right.
It's probably something that they had preserved for a long time.
Yeah.
And it was promised to them and left to them, and then these are just kind of, the government came in and just.
So how did the government? How did the? I was about to say, how did the government's press?
Yeah.
How did the media portray these Looney Tunes?
Well, the media didn't even report on it. It went out.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, it got out onto social media. And when I saw it, I thought, nah, this is a lie. It can't be that big. That's massive. Like 8, 9 guys, 10 guys with rifles took over a federal building, even though the keys were already there, and even though it's only a national park, it's not a big, but it's still a federal building.
When I heard about it, I thought, Wait, did any one of them say Allahu Akbar? Because if they did, how come it wasn't in the news?
Yeah, and so the Al Jazeera and a lot of the reporting that's been done on it, it's been done more by the left-wing progressive press. And
Right.
they are saying, look, what if this was black people from Black Lives Matter, or what if it was Muslims? The army would have been here, the National Guard would have been here, they would have busted in, they would have blew everyone to smithereens.
Yeah, and the media propaganda would have been in full motion.
Al Jazeera, the reporter, she saw a guy there who a few months earlier had done an armed protest outside of a mosque somewhere, and saw him there, and so asked him the same question: what if this was Muslims? Would they be treated as fairly as you are being treated?
Yeah.
And his answer was a bit vague, and kind of he tried to sidestep the issue. Naturally.
So you know what the answer is really then. Anyway, that's it for this episode. We'll be back next week with some more. See you later.